Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the live Q&A for Tuesday night. I am Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest. And I do want to mention one thing up at the top in case you hadn't seen it with the passing of Ed Buddy, Chiefs Hall of Famer. Has a unique story in that he and his son Brad are still the only father-son combination to be drafted in the first round by the same team. Um, Ed Buddy, 14 years with the Chiefs. And what I'll remember most about him is just seeing him around in Kansas City so much over the years. He was a founding member of the Ambassadors. Just a great Chiefs ambassador to be able to meet. I mean, he did so many of community events, so many meet and greets. With losing, as we have been, so many of the greats from those teams of the 1960s. It's sad to lose them. And Ed Buddy was a true gentleman, and he really was. And loss will be felt around Chiefs Kingdom. He and his son were both at the NFL draft this year. It was a great. He was a legend. I mean, probably worthy of a Hall of Fame inclusion too. I mean, he was a member of the All AFL team. Just sad to hear because I know how much he was adored within the organization. Definitely a big loss. So thoughts with the Buddy family tonight. Let's start with what you got. Looking over the questions. I know that you guys know by now that I'm always late. So 7:02 was a great early start for me tonight, but I saw the questions were already firing in, so I appreciate that. Let's go to Gary. Do you think it's a viable option to have Rice, James, and/or Ross take over the wide receiver jobs the majority of the snaps to gain chemistry with Patrick before the playoffs? Yes and no. Rice, certainly. I mean, he played 92% of the snaps on Sunday, so he's already there. The Chiefs absolutely, at this point, are already sending the message and the signal that he is the guy. I mean, he is at this point the number one receiver in that room. I've been talking this year, is there a true alpha in that room? Is there a true number one? And I've been saying maybe there is with Rashee Rice, and but he's not there yet. I'm willing to consider that he may be there. I mean, especially over the last month. I mean, is he the Tyreek of his peak, in Kansas City? Is he a DeAndre Hopkins? I mean, no, he's not at that tier yet. But, right now, I mean, the way that Rice is playing, I mean, he's a 1,000-yard receiver talent right now. So I think he is a guy that's worthy of building around. I mean, if you look at his numbers over the last month, I mean, they do project to be a number one receiver. So maybe at this moment in time, has he reached that point? Just about. I mean, you need to be able to see him do it when he's the one getting double covered, when he's getting all the attention like Travis Kelce is getting right now. But you got to build that room around Rice. And the question is, who can you count on now? The Chiefs will tell you that, I mean, right now, their second most trustworthy receiver is Justin Watson. And coincidentally, that's the guy who's getting the number 2 reps right now, as far as just the second most amount of work. Then you get the question about Rice and Ross, and James and Ross, rather. And I mean, to me, it's two separate questions and answers to a degree. I still say tap the brakes on the expectations for Justin Ross. Now so more than ever, because coming off a 7-week layoff, so he's healthy, so that's a good thing. He's been able to work out, so he should be able to come in, and he's going to have a couple of weeks of ramp up because he was able to practice last week on the practice squad. We'll see what their plan is for him this week, if he's going to continue to do that or he will be active on Sunday. They've got the possibility of doing that with Sky Moore going on IR. If they want to continue with 6 receivers, he can be one of the 6, but you're really left with 2 things still. One is that there's still only so much work that Justin Ross has done in preparing to play. The Chiefs have not prepared him at all because it was never their consideration really for him to be one of their starters. I mean, this year for him, he was always going to be kind of a role player and a niche player. So there's an opportunity for him. I mean, I think the high end for him is in the 20 to 30 snap range. I would have lower expectations than that, especially coming back. I mean, I would think coming back early, anywhere from a handful to 15 might be more appropriate for him, just until you get his feet wet and see what he's got. But Richie James is the guy I want to see. And that's the one that, I'm really I've been perplexed all along with how that they've handled Richie James, because going back to training camp, he looked really good. And I was just surprised that they weren't using him more, and especially in the preseason, he just always seemed to be on the just the precipice there. I mean, he and Amir Smith-Marset were kind of in that category of, why aren't these guys getting more of a look? And obviously, the Chiefs made the trade with Smith or Marset, but Richie James he's proven himself in this league. He's had success. He certainly had it last year with a new offense in New York and with a maybe questionable quarterback. He was really good, and he only got 2 snaps on Sunday, and Andy Reid says he needs to get more work. I mean, 3 snaps is more work, but I feel like Richie James means more like 20 or 30. I want to see what he can do before the playoffs. I mean, you can't be learning to see what Richie James has then. You need to learn in the next 3 weeks. And if that means like even taking him off of special teams, putting Kadarius Toney on special teams and switching their roles, essentially, I wouldn't have any problem with that. Just that to me is, I think, what you got to do. Just see what you got in Richie James. So yeah, I mean, I would play Richie. I would play Richie James. I would play Ross. I would play Justin Watson a lot, because I think those are the 3 guys that you could lean on in the playoffs. And maybe Richie James isn't going to work out. Maybe it is going to be a 2-man bench. Maybe it will be Rice and Watson are the 2 guys that you lean on, and some other guys rotate through that 3rd spot. But yeah, I want to see more of Richie James, and I think Ross is still the guy that's just, if you can use him in some goal line situations, some jump ball, there's a few different things that he can do, but just it hits into the really, get guys doing what they're good at. And Justin Ross has a role, but right now I don't think it's as an every down wide receiver. Ed, do the Chiefs sign a free agent wide receiver? Who would make sense? I'll be honest, I can't really think of anybody out there that makes sense. If the Chiefs were going to sign anybody, I mean, I think obviously Zach Ertz would be the name that you would think about. I know Gary points out in the comments that the Chiefs don't have a lot of money, and that is absolutely true. Let me pull it up and give you the official number right now that the Chiefs have on the old salary cap. From the NFLPA, which is the officialist of official numbers, and that's $2.2 million. So, but with a receiver, anybody coming into this offense, I mean, we're talking about getting the chemistry of getting guys on the same pitch with Mahomes right now. You really can't do that mid-season. I mean, the high watermark for what you could get out of a receiver mid-season edition would be Kadarius Toney last year, and that's really it. I mean, you're talking about bringing somebody in that could only just do a handful of things. So yeah, to me, I don't think there's anybody out there. I think you've got the lot that you're with. Off season, let's talk. There will be some work in the off season, so let's see what happens there. Jackson, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate it. I know how it goes. Hey, with Rice having in the ballpark of 760 yards, do you think he will make it to 1,000? That was one of my bold predictions for the second half, was that that Rice was going to eclipse Deshaun Jackson's number, which I think I would want top of my head, 919 yards as a rookie under Andy Reid, and become the number 1 rookie receiver under Andy Reid. He's absolutely within reach of that. I mean, he'll probably pass Jeremy Maclin for sure. And then he's got Deshaun Jackson after that. Remember, Dwayne Bowe has the Chiefs rookie record at 995 yards. I think he can do it. I don't know if he's obviously going to have one big game in the next 2 weeks to get it done. I mean, if he has a 100-yard game, and now you're looking at maybe needing like 140 yards, and then he gets a 70-yard game, I mean, I think that would certainly help. And if he were in that category of 80 to 100 yards away from 1,000 yards going into the last week of the season, I mean, I think the Chiefs would try to get him there. I think they'd throw the ball to him a lot just to see if they could get him there. So I I think he's got a shot. I mean, right now, I'd say I would put it at 55%. I mean, it's rookies and receivers. I mean, things can be hit and miss. I mean, all he has to do is have one bad week to really take him out of the mix. One week where the ball's not going his way. Travis has a big week. They're running the ball well. Maybe it doesn't come his direction. So, we'll see. But I like his chances at this point. Do you think that the lack of production execution from the wide receivers has accelerated Rice's development? Yes and no. I mean, I hate to straddle defense like that, but I don't think there's any doubt that Rice has gotten more playing time and more snaps this year because the wide receivers are struggling. If Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Sky Moore were playing up to expectations, there wouldn't be as much work for Rice. And you saw it earlier in the season. I mean, the Chiefs brought him along slowly, and that's how they want to do with young receivers. But two things kind of happened. I mean, one, the Chiefs had a need, so they were kind of forced to play him more than they wanted to. And two, he performed. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt. I mean, you look at Bryce's what he has done, and the only blemish on his record are really the drops. But honestly, I'm not worried about the drops. I mean, those are rookie learning curve mistakes. That to me is something that you're just going to have to deal with young receivers, and he has improved throughout the season. I mean, he caught every target he had on Sunday, so. For me, I don't know that. Like I said, I don't know that. Really, probably the production of his is accelerated because of the opportunities. But I think the other part of it is that he was just a very polished receiver coming out. There's no doubt to me. I think that he was a more polished route runner than. And I'll use Sky as a comparison only because they were taken at similar points in the second round. So you're kind of talking at least apples to apples. Rice, I think, is a more polished route runner. I think, saw some more sophisticated defenses, so he saw more zone coverages, and that's something that he has really been pretty comfortable with. What he just needs to do is see things, and now because the Chiefs have been forced to give him more time, he is learning. I mean, he's seeing things, and there's no doubt he's a high IQ football player. And I know from talking to him, I think the other thing, he kind of grew up. I mean, he was a little guy back in high school and playing running back, and kind of grew into becoming a receiver with his size. So I think that helps him, honestly. I mean, I think that having that running back experience, you can see it. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Chiefs loved him, is that when he gets the ball in his hands, he runs like a running back, and that's one of the reasons why his yards after reception is so good. So I mean, there's a lot to like, and I think he was just more polished coming out, which has helped. But there's no doubt that being forced into the playing time has been kind of an incubator for him. The Dockster is in. What are your thoughts on 84 or wide receiver Watson? I mean, Justin Watson is. I mean, I don't want to describe him like a 80,000 mile guaranteed tire, but that's kind of what he is. I mean, Justin Watson does a lot of things well. I mean, is he the fastest guy? No. Is he the biggest guy? No. Strongest? No. Most talented? No. But he works really hard. I mean, obviously, and that also fits in that category of the high football IQ guy. Knows the entire offense in and out, so he's the one guy that you can shuttle in at every position. He's a glue guy. That's what he is. I mean, and those players are valuable. I kind of can put him in that same kind of category as like Albert Wilson. Remember, I mean, Justin Watson will run any route. He's not afraid to take on anything. He will block. I mean, he does everything for you. I mean, is he going to be 100-yard a game receiver or anything like that? No, but Andy Reid has said that he's the best complementary receiver that they have, and by that he means he's the guy that helps other guys get open. He runs the right routes. He goes to where he needs to go in order for plays to get executed correctly, and you can always count on Justin Watson being in the right spot. Let's see, going through here because I wanted to give a shout out to. Clifford, thank you very much. Great member of ours. I really appreciate it. I don't know about targeting gift memberships. Maybe Jack can help us weigh on this because Jack is gifting another 5 memberships tonight. So if you haven't claimed one of those yet, they are out there. That is awesome, Jack. I really appreciate you always doing that. It's great to get more memberships in, and you've been a great supporter. Really appreciate you and Cliff. And yeah, if there's anything you can help out there in the discussion about, gifting memberships to specific people, that's awesome. I love that you guys are willing to do that and trying to help grow the group. I absolutely love the discussions that all of you have in the side here, and I really appreciate it. I know a lot of you have probably run into each other on other YouTube channels and other message boards and everything. So I really truly appreciate the kindness and support. And Jack's been with us from the beginning. So I really can't tell you how much I appreciate it. You guys have been great, and the encouragement and the kind words do help. Trust me, because even though I studied broadcast journalism, and I just chose not to go into broadcasting. I went into other areas and have kind of wound my way back here to doing what I wanted to do when I was young. But it's been a while, and don't always have the greatest confidence. So trust me, the kind words that a lot of you have shared have been very helpful in giving me the courage to continue doing this and the confidence to keep growing. So I appreciate it. Hey, Red Royce, that's why I say tap the brakes. Justin Ross has huge talent. There is no doubt about it. His size is, in the 100 percentile. I know 99 percentile, but he's off the charts, athletic, off the charts. What he lacks is, consistent work and experience, because, remember, he lost a full year of college with the back injury, lost a full year as his rookie year with the foot. You look at his just football workload over really the last 3 or 4 seasons, and it really only piles up to maybe about a full year plus of football experience. So he's still green in so many ways. The athleticism is there. There's plenty to like, but he's got a lot to still learn. And that's the only thing I say. That's like, he's had kind of 2 redshirt years, and that wasn't to be unexpected. Last year would have been the redshirt for a year if he was healthy. But remember, at this point, the only thing you've really invested in Justin Ross is time. He wasn't a draft pick. He was an undrafted guy. If you get anything from him, it's fantastic. But I don't have huge expectations, because I think he just has a lot to learn, and he's obviously, once again, had some football lost this year. So I think that's going to put him a little bit behind the 8 ball. But at the same time, Andy Reid has figured out ways in the past of getting guys experience and figuring out how to get them on the field and doing what they do best. So I think it could absolutely happen. Cliff gifted me 5 more memberships. We've had 10 gifted memberships tonight from Cliff and Jack. So thank you both very much for that. And if they're still out there, claim them. The more the merrier. Love having everybody be a part of this. Thank you. Let's see. Clifford Watson is infuriating because he takes up so much snap presence but isn't very productive. Don't let that bother you, Clifford, really. I get it that he gets a lot of snaps but doesn't have a ton of production, but a lot of that's by design. He's not, Justin Watson's not a guy you build a play around. He's not the guy that is a first or a second target on every play. So honestly, probably 90+%, if not 100% of Justin Watson's targets are secondary options because somebody else is covered or Mahomes has bought time. There's just not a lot of plays that are specifically designed for him. But if you watch and you get a chance to see some of the 11, the all 22 they get posted, or if you have the NFL Plus membership and you get to see that, sometimes just watch Justin Watson and where he goes and what his role is, because if you watch that, you'll see that what Watson is doing is that they know that he's going to run every route precisely, that every time he's going to be exactly where he's supposed to be. And Andy Reid is a master at designing plays where, you use a receiver, you use players to open up space on the field. And that's what Justin Watson's job really is. His job is to occupy a defender. It's to take attention away from somewhere else on the field. That's what complimentary, receiver does. And he's really good at it. So, when sometimes if Rashee Rice looks wide open or Travis Kelce looks wide open, it might be because Justin Watson is doing something else on the field, whether, it's on the opposite side, whether it was lined up next to them and took a defender a different direction, runs across the zone to get somebody's eyes off somebody else. I mean, those are the things that Justin Watson do that doesn't show up in a box score, but he's really, really good at it. Like I said, might not be, the most talented guy in the field, but he is definitely, somebody one of those team guys that you love to have out there. Red Royce, love it. Thank you. Yes, hit the like, subscribe, all of that. Anything, guys, you all, everybody can do to help me get the word out about the. I would my. I didn't think I was gonna get there this fast, but now that I am there, the kind of thing I want for the holidays, and certainly by the end of the years, and I think I can get there by New Year's of getting to 2,000 subscribers. But would love to do it by Christmas. That'd be awesome. So if y'all want to get me a gift, there you go. Help me do that. Get to 2,000 subs by Christmas. But I really appreciate all the kind words and everything. Red Royce, do you think it would be wise to bring in an old vet coach to help out? I think that's something that the Chiefs are going to look at in the offseason. Nothing obviously this year. That die is cast. You're not going to change things this year. But they've gone with a young coach the last 2 years in that receiver room since Greg Lewis left. Last year was Joe Blameyer, and this year Connor Embry. Both young, up and coming guys with a lot of promise as coaches, but not guys with a ton of experience. As far as being a receivers coach, or even for both of them, it was their first time as an assistant position coach. So that, to me, I do think it's something that Andy Reid's going to look at in the offseason about, having someone else come in there and be the, whether it's, having just another voice around. I mean, if you keep Connor Embry at the receiver position, maybe you've got someone in the senior assistant role, or another position that you put onto the staff that's that kind of coach. Now they've got one in Todd Pinkston, and I think there's a reasonable chance that maybe the change next year is simply those two guys changing jobs, that you move Todd Pinkston into the receivers room and Connor Embry to running backs. That's an option. I mean, and there's other possibilities too, but I do think that they'll probably beef up the coaching side of things in the receiver spot. And Todd Pinkston obviously played the position, played it for Andy Reid. He's coached receivers at the high school and college level. This year's his first, job at the NFL level. And, I mean, I think that there was some, when he became available kind of a thing, as far as maybe why he's coaching running backs this year and not receivers. So I think that there's a reasonable chance you're going to see a vet coach come in here, and somebody who's got a little bit of experience, because obviously they got a lot of youth in that room, and I think that they probably do need somebody that's got a lot of coaching and teaching experience for young guys to help them get the most out of that. And they're probably going to have honestly, I mean, I would expect them right now to put another draft pick into the receiver group. So now you're talking about having 3 draft picks in 3 years, and then you add in Justin Ross and other players. I mean, you're going to end up with a really, really young receiver room again, even if they bring in a veteran through trade or a free agent. So, I mean, yeah, having a veteran receivers coach, somebody that's played the position and knows the NFL, I think would be of value. Kevin predicts that Rice will tie Bo's rookie year yardage. After all, he is Dwayne Bowe 2.0. There's a lot of similarities there. I'll give you that. There's no doubt. I mean, there are a lot of similarities. But I think if Rashee Rice gets the 995, Andy Reid and that team will get everything that they can to get him to 1,000. So I don't think he's going to tie him. I think if he gets that close, he'll break it. Odella, thank you very much. Appreciate the support and the super thanks there. Moving to the front of the line. Do you know the next time Veach talks to the media? Would love to get his insight on the receiver situation. Great question. And usually we get Brett Veach around this time of year. I'll be interested to see. They usually make Brett available, and Clark Hunt as well, when the Chiefs clinch the division. So it's entirely possible that we get Brett after Monday's game against the Raiders. I think it's probably more likely if they win, which I think they're going to. Now, remember, the Chiefs could clinch the division on Sunday if the Broncos lose. So there's a possibility there, that they'll win, they'll clinch without a win. But we'll see in the next couple of days. I've actually am going to be talking to the Chiefs PR when we get back in on Thursday to see if that's the plan. So maybe we'll get a little bit of a heads up there, and I'll obviously let all of you members know and subs know if we're going to hear from Brett for sure. But that would be my guess. And yeah, Odella, you can bet that that's probably going to be the first, second, and third question from Brett Veach is going to be how this receiver room played out, and what was how the plan maybe didn't work, or what did work, or what they're going to do next. That's going to be a frequent question because we'll hear from Brett. Then, if the Chiefs advance in the postseason, we'll possibly hear from him. We'll hear from him then. But probably the next time after this that we'd hear from Brett would be at the Combine, late February, early March. So, we've got some questions to ask about that receiver room, and maybe it'll be this week. I would say it's going to be either this week or next week that we hear from Brett. I think they'll make him available. Jackson, regular sub in here. Why does it seem like the defense has been starting slow the past few weeks, but then locked down in the second half? That's another good question. I mean, it has kind of been a little bit routine and a trend of late. I think a little bit of it has just been energy level. I think that they've had a couple of games where clearly their opponents came out a little bit, with more of the momentum on their side. I think that was certainly the case in Vegas when they fell down early and the defense kind of struggled a little bit. I don't think there's also any doubt the last 2 weeks that one of their slow starts has been dealing with the loss of Brian Cook. Certainly against Buffalo really exploited that in the first half. They were using James Cook to try and get him matched up against Mike Edwards. And that obviously worked out pretty well for them. And, they had a couple of big plays in that direction. And then once the Chiefs kind of figured out they had a leak there, they did a really good job of plugging it up. And again, in the second half against Buffalo, they really knuckled down and really got after Josh Allen and took Cook out of the game in the second half. Against the Patriots went after him a little bit different way. They used Hunter Henry in the first half to really kind of go after the safeties and try and get some matchups with Mike Edwards there. And once the Spagnuolo and the Chiefs kind of saw that, they adjusted again and once again really buttoned down. That's why I'm saying against the Raiders, part of it is I think you have to kind of prepare for which direction you think the Raiders are going to go. They obviously ran the ball very effectively, and I think they're going to try to obviously do the same thing if they can get Josh Jacobs off to a good start in the first half. Now, Jacobs, to me, isn't the receiver that James Cook is, but they'll throw the ball. So if they can find some ways to get Jacobs matched up against Mike Edwards, I think they'll try that. They've also, Mike Mayer, the rookie tight end. They got Hooper too at tight end. I mean, they've got some guys that they can throw to. So maybe they'll try and get at some tight ends. Maybe they'll do the same thing the Patriots kind of did, is trying to isolate them on Edwards rather. Those are the things I just think you have to be prepared either way. But I don't think that the Raiders are going to be able to sneak up on the Chiefs as much as they did last time. I mean, one, it's at home, so it's not going to be a Raiders crowd of any sort. That's going to be on the Chiefs side, the momentum. I can't think of anything worse in the NFL than playing on the road on Thanksgiving. But the only thing that might be worse might be playing on the road at noon Monday on Christmas Day. The Raiders aren't going to want to be there. So to me, if the Chiefs fans can get into it and the Chiefs can put them down in a hurry, the Raiders are going to just want to get out of there as quickly as you can. So, if you get a chance to put the Raiders down quickly on Monday, that's how I think you keep from having that slow start that you've had the last few weeks. Jackson, do you think FAU may have a larger role down the stretch, or do you think it'll wait until the 24 season? Yeah, Jackson. I think it probably is 24 to look at it. Could he have a bigger role? I think the only reason why he would have a bigger role at this point is if there's an injury. The Chiefs obviously are pretty pleased with the play that they're getting out of Charles Omenihu and George Karlaftis and Mike Dana. You obviously have Chris Jones, who's kicking out and playing inside as well. So there's really not a whole lot of work for Felix. I mean, they have figured some ways to get him on, and he's going to be a substitution at times when guys need a breather. But the Chiefs have always kind of circled 24 as the first, really big year. The idea with Felix, and remember, he had the hand surgery in the off season, so really didn't get to work out until training camp. And he was always a little bit behind the eight ball, and I think he handled it well. I think they, as Steve Spagnuolo likes to do, I mean, they fed him, they fired the hot fire hose at him. They put a lot on his plate, and it's kind of sink or swim. And I think he kind of treaded water a little bit before he started swimming, but I think he got into it. And now it's just really about learning, and it's about honing his technique and learning from the guys like Karlaftis and Dana and Jones and Ominahue, and picking up as much knowledge as he can to get ready for a bigger role next year. The feeling with Felix that I always got from the Chiefs all along was that, they would love for this to be a redshirt year for him, that he just learns. If he had to play, because there were injuries, they felt like he could handle it, but they really would prefer that he just kind of, learn. And maybe if they get some easy, victories the next couple of weeks and they've got some room to get some young guys in, I think Felix is the first one that they would want to get in there and get in there and take a look at what he can do and just get him some experience. Oh, never have a lack of faith in Harrison Butker. Guy is nails. I think he's shown it. I mean, we'll have to talk to him and see if he'll talk to us this week about what happened on that kick, because he did not look his normal self the other day. But man, Harrison Butker still is having a heck of a year. He really is. Can Butker still make the Pro Bowl even though his perfect season is kaput? Absolutely. Now, remember, the fan voting for the Pro Bowl is only a portion of it. And there's a lot of times. I mean, I know they say technically it's 1/3. The NFL is not really transparent about how the NFL voting goes, because you will oftentimes see someone who leads in the fan voting doesn't make the team, or vice versa, someone who doesn't do well in the fan voting but then does make the team because they do so well with the coaches and the players. I mean, it's tough if for no other reason than I can't really explain to you why the Browns guy is leading the voting, other than Cleveland fans getting out there and voting. But I mean, Justin Tucker has always got a built-in advantage because everybody, perceives him as being the best in the league. So he probably gets a lot of the coaches and player vote. But no, Harrison Butker to me is absolutely having the best year for any kicker in the league. So I think he absolutely and totally deserves it. Jack getting another shout out. I appreciate it. Matt Uneasy, very much to enjoy. Hopefully I'm getting better. Like I said, I mean, I used to sort of do this. I started working at a radio station when I was 18, but haven't done it in a long time. And and certainly I'm not as heavy as I used to be, but when I was heavier, I got a little bit self-conscious about being on video. So that took a little bit to get over being on YouTube, but you guys are making it really easy. I appreciate it. I mean, exactly. I mean, Rashee Rice only needs about 80 yards a game to catch Bo. That's completely doable. I mean, I think he's got a shot. I probably should give him a better chance than about 55-60%, but I just know, hey, all it takes is just one rough game and it can make it a little bit difficult to get there, and maybe the ball just doesn't go your direction. So, hey, Cole, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support and letting some of your folks come over here and watch. I appreciate that. Thank you. You got everybody over there, so I appreciate you letting them come over and watch my stream of a channel from time to time. Thanks, Cole. I appreciate you, buddy. Chiefs have held running backs to under 60 yards rushing the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I mean, that's part of that defense. I mean, they've been playing really, really well, and they've been showing up against the ground. I mean, and really, I mean, outside of a couple of plays here and there, and really since the Raiders game, the run defense has been pretty good. I mean, it hasn't maybe been the most consistent part of the defense this year, but do you have the confidence that the Chiefs defense can shut down some running backs in the running games in the postseason? I think they can. Clifford. Wonder who came back 2 weeks ago that would have a terrific report on that run game. There you go. Good question. Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen the like counter yet, so I'm afraid to go over and look at it right now. So if I would go off the page, sometimes wacky things happen. So I'm just going to stick right here for right now. So let's see. Going through, love the comments and the discussion. By the way, you guys are all great. I really do appreciate it. Ooh, I want to bring this one up from Gary. Do we have a backup and right tackle if we need to sit Taylor for a minute? Good, timely question because I mean, yes, right now your backup right tackle is Lucas Niang, and I mean, for the most part, I mean, he and Wanye Morris, I mean, they've been focusing on those positions each. You know, they obviously have cross trained a little bit, especially on scout team looks. But primarily the Chiefs have been working Wanye on the left side and Lucas on the right side. So, yeah, I mean, if they needed, if Taylor had an injury of any sort, that's next man up. I mean, he is your next swing tackle, and he would be in there. Probably of note, just to keep in the back of your head, though, is that Prince Tega Wanongo is close to being ready to go. So he is on injured reserve. He told me last week that he's hoping to be able to get back here before the end of the regular season. So that's a possibility that, especially if Donovan Smith with that stinger, if that's something that's going to keep him out any further than, a couple more games and you need another tackle, Prince Teguanago might be ready to come back. So keep an eye on that. I mean, it's certainly a possibility. Yeah, the Dockster is in. It did look like his plant foot slipped a little bit. To me, it wasn't unclear if he just had overstepped or it slipped completely. But yeah, it was, to me, it wasn't necessarily on Butker. It may have been just the turf. But I would love to hear from him about what happened, because that was it's going to be really, really sad if that's the only miss. I mean, if your only miss all season comes from just a slip, that hurts, because he was having a really, really special season. Red Royce, yes, if we can get 2,000 for Christmas, that would be a great present. That you wouldn't have, nobody had to get me anything else, just that, and I'll be happy this year. And let's see, going through. Has anyone else noticed Patrick doesn't have a single rushing touchdown this year? I feel like I had a ton last year. It hadn't really occurred to me, but I do feel like that there has been some differences with Patrick and the run game this year, and I'm pulling up just to kind of see the numbers to give you and look at it here over time. I mean, his rushing numbers this year, let's see what we got. He has 334 yards, which is only 24 less than he had last year, 358. Right there into that category. So reasonably close. Let's see. And his high is 4, and funny thing is that every year as a starter, his first 4 seasons in the league, he had 2, and last year he had 4. So this year he has 0, which means he's still averaging 2 touchdowns rushing a year. It's a good question, because I mean, hey, with Patrick touchdowns, I mean, his rushing touchdowns, none of them are. I'm sure there's one, but I can't really think of one off the top of my head that was designed and wasn't something that was just him scrambling to make it happen. I think that he is also, one, with all the red zone issues and everything like that, I think it's been maybe just a little bit of him just not having as much room to operate in the red zone. I also think he has consciously tried to, stay in the pocket a bit more in the red zone, has been concentrating on trying to get rid of the football. Is there anything else? I don't know if there's any part of, anything that's affecting his game otherwise. But it is odd. I mean, and like I said, I felt like there's maybe a few things that are different with the run game for him this year. But, the crazy thing is that his rushing attempts over his career by year: 60, 43, 62, 66, 61, 61. I mean, chances are he's going to end up with he might end up with more this year. I mean, he's got 3 games left. He could hit 70. I mean, this could be the most times he ever scrambles. And maybe that's kind of even what's surprising me is just, the number of runs that he has. His success rate is pretty consistent. I mean, it's usually in the 50s. It was 59% last year, 50% this year, 51%. So maybe you could say he's just having a little bit less success than he did last year. And but touchdowns are something I think as a quarterback on runs, you just, unless you're Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, that you're going to have some that are designed for you. A lot of them are just going to be things that you back into. So maybe we're reading too much into it. Worldwide, I was kind of like you. I feel like there's something been different about his running this year. But it's honestly, it's not really outside the deviation that much. Clifford back in. Thank you very much for the super thanks. I appreciate that. Is there any plan in the future to implement some perks for membership? Yes. There's a list of perks and some of them are kind of put together. I'm doing a very, very poor job of executing it, but yes, for those of you with the memberships, there are going to be some, I'm going to be getting the exclusive videos for just members coming, and I'm going to do one this week for sure. So we're going to get it going. I promise you that they will start becoming a little bit more regular. There's also, I have set up a Discord channel, which is all brand new for me, but I'm also going to roll that out here pretty soon. So yeah, there'll be that. I'm trying to remember what else I have on the list. I'm still trying to kind of figure it all out and everything. But yes, Clifford, thank you. And, hey, keep the pressure, because until you start seeing, the membership perks coming out, keep asking me about it and hounding me about it, because I need somebody to hold me accountable. So Clifford, hold me accountable. I need you to, man. Jack, this is an interesting question because Ryan Tracy and I talked about this earlier today on Locked On Chiefs. CEH, does he deserve more snaps? I mean, what he's done for this team the last couple of weeks, and especially against the Patriots, I think he's earned it. I think he's earned a chance to get some more work. So yeah, I think he would need to try and find a way to squeeze him in there a bit. Now, I think that's going to be hard, because with a running back by committee, juggling 2 running backs is hard, but the Chiefs have 3 that they want to play. And if you've got 60 offensive plays a game, I mean, a 20-20-20 split for Pacheco, McKinnon, and Clyde isn't ideal. I mean, and I think that both Pacheco and Clyde are both guys who need work in order to, stay sharp and to kind of build through a game. McKinnon is not like that. I mean, there are some running backs that will definitely tell you that they feel more comfortable after, they've had 5 or 6 carries. They kind of get in rhythm, get a couple of hits that helps them, kind of acclimate themselves in a game. McKinnon is one of those guys that, I mean, I think you could really throw him out there for 3 snaps and you're going to get the best out of him all 3 snaps. But Pacheco and Clyde are both, I think, guys that need to kind of, get into a rhythm. And, with Pacheco coming back with the shoulder, I think the Chiefs are still going to want to protect him a little bit, especially for the postseason. So it wouldn't surprise me if they tried to get Clyde maybe either a few drives. I know, talking to Ryan, he'd like to see first and third quarter Pacheco and maybe second and fourth for Clyde, or Clyde just gets one entire quarter to himself. Chiefs aren't usually that kind of rigid in their rotation, but I think anything, I mean, if you can get Clyde some more work and keep him involved, I mean, I think that that's good, that if anything does happen to Pacheco, that you've got him ready to go and set and comfortable. But I also think Clyde's been productive, so give him a chance to keep proving himself. Kenneth, Wanye Morris has shown some rookie growing pains, but for the most part, I think he's looked pretty good at left tackle. I agree. There's probably been a couple of snaps in these last 2 starts that he'd like to have back, but for a rookie in his position, not being, I said, I'm talking about not being a first or a second round guy that you really expect to come in and start immediately. And the Chiefs all along, once again, the plan for Wanye was, hey, if he can be a starter for you in 2024, then that's a home run draft pick. But right now, it's looking like that. I mean, cross your fingers. I'm not wanting to jinx him or anything, but I mean, the grand slam would be if you found in Wanye, you have found, your left tackle of the, foreseeable future. And they might have that. I mean, is he an all pro? Not yet. Is he a pro bowler? Not in that category yet, but there's potential there. And I think obviously I think he's been a lot more comfortable in the run than the pass. But even then, you've not really heard his name a lot. Hasn't had, penalty problems, anything of that nature. You haven't seen anything consistent. This can be a good test. I mean, I'll be intrigued to see, if the Raiders do have Crosby lining up on him much on Monday. That'll be a really, really good test. If he gets to see Crosby a little bit, that'll tell us something about him. But no, I've been really impressed with Wanye, and I think that I want to see more from him. And he's a really good kid, a really fun guy to root for. I mean, if he can be your left tackle of the future, Chiefs fans would absolutely fall in love with Wanye Morris on a regular basis. Rick, does the Jawan tries? I get it, and in Jawan's defense, I mean, trying to fix, and change what you do and have been doing for years in season is almost impossible. I'm intrigued to see what the Chiefs do in the offseason. If they do, work with Jawan to try and change his style a little bit. I think that, certainly with the penalties adding up this year, I mean, you like to cross your fingers and think that it's going to be different next year, that there won't be as much targeting for him, but you got to be prepared. So I will see. Yeah, Clifford, I see your point there about, I think you're talking about Patrick and rushing, and you're right. I mean, Mahomes jokes about teams not putting a spy on him, but they do pay a lot more attention to him in the red zone these days. So I think that's absolutely part of it. Hey, Cole, thank you very much. Appreciate you, man. And don't trust me. I will gladly take you up on sending you a DM. So thanks, Cole. I truly appreciate the support. Let's see what we got here. Another question or point about from AZ Chief, FAU. Like I said earlier, I mean, I think that, unless there's any injuries, I think you've seen what you're going to get from FAU this year, which is just as a backup piece, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, once again, the Chiefs were really, and there's another part of it too, what I didn't talk about earlier that I'll circle back to on now, is just that, remember, I mean, FAU is a very young guy still, and really young at this position, because you go back to 3 years ago and Felix was a beanpole. I mean, he is just a fraction of the giant mold of muscle and athleticism that he is now. I mean, he was pretty much like a wide receiver 3 years ago, and really just kind of, exploded growth wise, and, working out, he talked about working out during COVID and everything, that kind of bulked up and turned into this hulking defensive end. So he just has a little maturing to go through, and that's not mentally. I'm not going to just about physically and kind of growing into it. And just learning the position and getting more comfortable with himself. I mean, that's why I say, I mean, this was always going to be a redshirt year for Felix. If he was forced to play because of injuries, the Chiefs were ready for that. But right now, I mean, I would say he's on target to be a starter next year. And that's assuming that you probably can't keep Mike Dana. So Felix and Karlaftis are your starting defensive ends next year. I mean, that's a distinct possibility. To Kenneth, to me, CEH has always played his butt off when in. I agree. Problem is, he gets injured too much and can't develop consistency. I mean, some of it's just been bad luck. I mean, you go back, over the last couple of years, and I say this because I mean, numbers wise, remember his performance against the Patriots, especially in the passing game. That was the second biggest game that he's ever had, receiving wise, and that goes back to his rookie year. I mean, the last couple of seasons, between, I think he had the appendectomy, he's had some bad luck. That's not really even just injury issues, and to your point, I mean, he is a smaller running back. So yeah, is that a possibility that at 5'7", he's going to, get 5'8", he's going to get some more injuries? Yeah, I mean, it can always happen with smaller guys. But I think a lot of it has just been bad luck, because when he has played, when he has been in there, I mean, I think he has been pretty consistent. It's just some guys have bad luck, McCole Hardman, a great example. Just gave you never was hurt, and then just has bad luck where he's had a lot of injuries the last couple of seasons. I mean, for some guys, and then I'll knock on wood for you all. Guys like Travis Kelce that never get hurt. It seems like, and even when they do get hurt, they're able to play through it. It's just amazing how one guy to another can have some bad luck and everything. So let's see, what do we got here? Oh, Rick. Do you think Travis will retire after the season? Are you hearing anything? I mean, really, the only thing that we've heard, it was I think it was in the GQ interview that he did, when he talked about, thinking about retirement more than he has than ever before. And I think that it's obviously more likely now than it was, just simply because Travis has more options and alternatives and choices off the field now than he ever had before, and not just talking about his personal life, but just professionally. He's got an agency now that's, after the Saturday Night Live experience, that's looking for him for commercial work and maybe Hollywood, TV. I mean, he's going to be Tony Gonzalez, and we'll see him walking on this NCIS or something. I mean, he wants to, he's got options to do other things than play football. So I can see him thinking about it. I mean, obviously, the last time that we really talked about it, and I want to say it was even just during the off season, was when he said he was going to play until the wheels fall off. I mean, I don't see the wheels falling off. Yep, Cliff noted it right there that he was going to play until the wheels fall off. I don't think he's there yet. I don't think the wheels are falling off, but I could see. I mean, he's taken a beating this season, and I wouldn't be surprised if after this year he just wanted to take a couple of months off and see how he feels, because I do get the sense that this has probably been one of the more grueling seasons that he's had, and I am sure that the off field, just circus that he's had is probably not making it any easier. But at the same time, I know how much that guy loves football and wants to win. I think he wants another Super Bowl. I think he wants 2 more Super Bowls. I think he wants to play with Patrick Mahomes as long as he can. I think he wants to play for Andy Reid as long as he can. I don't think he wants to be a 500-yard tight end, though. And so that's why I say, as long as he's still a 1,000-yard tight end, I don't think there's a real hint to worry about him retiring. But at the same time, I mean, based on what's happened to him over the last 6 to 12 months, it wouldn't surprise me if his thinking does change a little bit, because he obviously got so many opportunities off the field now. John, this is a question that came up last night when we were talking about just the receivers period, with with Sky Moore going on IR and Justin Ross coming back. Could CEH take more wide receiver snaps? Because yes, he famously did practice there on the first team and scout team for Super Bowl. I mean, it wouldn't, to me, be a full-time move. I mean, it would be something that maybe you a half dozen times a game, and it really wouldn't necessarily be anything out of the realm of what they kind of do what the Chiefs do with their running backs anyways, occasionally splitting them out in some 4 wide formations and everything. Maybe that's how you kind of squeeze Clyde into the passing game a little bit and give him some more opportunities if you do that. Because I think he's really comfortable with that. I think he's really good at that. I think he's better and more comfortable than Pacheco is in those situations. And again, you see Clyde splitting out. I think you're also, as a defense, you're also more prepared for him doing that than maybe that Pacheco is. So if you want defenses to take their attention away from somebody else, or you're trying to free things up a little bit for Travis, maybe you do split Clyde out. Like I said, I don't think it's a matter of mid-season you're moving to the receiver room or anything, but do you fit in some just specific packages, for, like I said, 3, 4, half dozen times a game where Clyde can do that? I think it's possible, and something I'd really consider in everything. So yes, I did. I read this quietly to myself, but then I realized I forgot to put it up on screen. Cole, I want to give you the hat tip. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support. I appreciate all the kindness. I don't know how many of my subs that I do need to thank you for, because I think my biggest jump that I ever had in subs was after one of your promos. So thank you for the support and the kind words. I truly appreciate that, man. Let's see. KL368. MVS seems to be in the doghouse. Sky is obviously on IR. How do they supplement those snaps? James Ross, maybe McCole. It feels like they need to get aggressive with the snaps and figure it out. And I think we're seeing signs of that. Obviously, Sky going on IR is going to change things. And there was a question about. I also saw on the feed there about whether this is Sky being in the doghouse going to IR. No, it's a legit. I mean, Chiefs aren't going to do that. Yeah, I mean sometimes you've seen some guys go on IR with some sketchy injuries, especially if they're developmental players. You put a quarterback on IR with a broken pinky. That's a little bit more sketch. No, I mean Sky, it's legit. I mean he had a knee issue pop up over the weekend, so Chiefs felt like it was going to be something that they needed to shut him down for a while. I haven't heard anything that would suggest that he's out completely for the season yet. We'll see. I mean, could he conceivably return for the postseason? Maybe. But, what do you do in the short term? Well, as we talked about earlier, I mean, it's going to be Rashee Rice. It's going to be Justin Watson. I absolutely think they need to give Richie James a chance at that number 3 spot because they really haven't given him one yet. So I want to see there. Kadarius, I think, is still going to be in the mix. McCole is an interesting question because McCole is now at the 4-week mark, so he could be activated at any point. Now, remember, he had thumb surgery, which for a receiver, I mean, if he's Nick Bolton with coming off wrist surgery, yeah, you could put that in a cast, and Nick Bolton can go out there and play with one arm, but receiver can't really do that. So. That is something I do want to ask Andy Reid this week is just where McCole is. Planning on asking him that on Thursday when we get back. So hopefully we can get at least maybe a little definition about McCole, if it's something where he could be conceivably, able to return at some point this year, or if that's an injury that's going to keep him out longer term than that. We, haven't really gotten a confirmed answer on that. And, and given that, hey, the Chiefs have been pretty open lately about some injuries, especially like Isaiah Pacheco, maybe we'll get a better answer. So we will see. So yeah, Cliff had the same question about McCole coming back and can you work him in? We'll see. I mean, I think that's just going to be a tougher receiver to do. So Kenneth wants to see some 2-back backfields with Pacheco and CEH at the same time. That could confuse defenses, especially LBs, as they would never know if a run or pass is coming. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, and it's obviously kind of a thing that I'm sure would occur to Andy. I mean, it's not something I think that he wants to do frequently. I mean, there's some pluses and minuses from going with a formation like that. But I wouldn't mind putting them out, especially if it's a situation where, you're going to split one of them out and, just one in the backfield, maybe you can move them around. So you don't know which one's going to be in the backfield. Yeah, I mean, there's some things, but I don't think it's something that they would want to do very much. I think it's especially because, putting 2 guys in the backfield, you really, at this level and the way that the Chiefs like to do things from a preparation standpoint, I mean, that's something you almost want to install and be thinking about back in off-season workouts and training camp. I mean, if you did it now, I think it would just be as a kind of an exotic formation, nothing that you would really plan on doing, repeatedly. But hey, getting 2 guys like that on the field at the same time, I mean, I'm open for it. Let's see what happens. Red Royce, any word on Cook? Last I've been hearing is that he's still in that kind of 4, 5, 6 weeks category, that they'll evaluate him then. And that's kind of the hope, is that maybe he can come back in the postseason. He'll be eligible to come off of injured reserve by the end of the year. But all the indications are with that ankle sprain that it was probably going to be at the higher end of the 4 to 6 weeks that you would normally see. So 5 to 6 was kind of in the ballpark. I think there was some finger crossing that maybe after 5 he could be back, but I think 6 is definitely a possibility. So no, the book hasn't closed on Brian Cook. He could still be coming back, and that would be really nice for the Chiefs if they can get him back. So getting toward the end of the line of questions. So if anybody's got anything, fire away, and I'll make sure I even go back over to Twitter, make sure I didn't miss any questions over there that anybody asked as they couldn't make the live stream. Rick, I see your joke there about McColl and Tony. And yeah, a lot of questions about like Hardman. Um, we'll see. I mean, like I said, with the surgery that he had, I'm assuming it's something that's going to take more for a receiver. Would be something that's more than a few weeks. But then again, we never really got any definitive word about how long he was going to be out. So I'll try and find out this week and get back to you guys and let you all know about where he's at. But I like I said, I didn't get the sense necessarily it was season ending for him, but just how quickly you can expect him to come back, I think, is a little bit more up in the air. What are some of the things that you'd like to see in the postseason? KL368 asks. Good question, because I think that by and large, I think we saw a lot of them start to get in place in the Patriots. The one thing that I mean, if you've been listening, you'll know I'm going to say next. I want to see Richie James. I want to see Richie James on the field because I feel like that's the one thing that we really haven't, gotten a glimpse at yet. So I need to see him. I mean, give him a chance to really play an extended amount of time, get some targets, see how reliable he is, see what the chemistry with Mahomes is. I was really blown away in training camp with his quickness and agility, and did the knee surgery take a little bit out of him, or no, excuse me, I guess we don't know that he had surgery for se, but he had the MCL injury, so wasn't I don't believe he actually had surgery, so I apologize for transposing that there, but um you know if that took too much out of him and it's not, then the explosiveness is not there. I get it, but Andy Reid says that he needs to get more snaps, and I mean, I want to see significantly more snaps from Richie James. Like I said, I was really surprised by his explosiveness. What we saw at training camp, he can make people miss, and when he gets the ball in space, he was probably of the plays that we saw at training camp that you saw him just somebody break some ankles and bust out some big plays. Richie James had more of those than probably anybody else at training camp, and I'm talking about even Justin Ross, who had the crazy catches that you saw on the highlight reels. Richie was just the guy that could actually avoid guys, break things off. I mean, he's got good speed too. I mean, I understood a little bit about why he didn't maybe get as much playing time in San Francisco, because he looks a lot like and plays a lot like Deebo Samuel. It's just that Deebo has got a whole other category of speed and explosion, but Richie's kind of in that next level right below him. And is it Kadarius Toney kind of? No, but at the same time, I mean, he had an 80 some odd percent catch rate last year, which good hands. It's a good thing to have. I just want to see him. I mean, maybe the chemistry's not there. Maybe he's not getting the offense down. We'll see. But I'm hoping that you see more of Richie James, because I think that's the one thing that could at least give this team a dimension that they don't have. I think you're seeing them do the rest. I think you're seeing this team kind of realize that it doesn't have the fastball that they used to have when you had deep threats like Sammy or like Tyreek Hill, like a healthy McColl early in his career, Demarcus Robinson. When you had multiple deep threats that you had a lot of experience and timing working with Patrick with, the deep ball was there. Right now you look at Mahomes' numbers, and they're still MVP Hall of Fame numbers when he's throwing the ball, short and intermediate space. It's just been the deep ball that has been the problem. There's too many turnovers. There's not enough home runs, not enough hits. I mean, right now, and this is, I'm not putting it on Mahomes, but right now the Chiefs' deep ball offense is kind of I would say it's a hit or miss, a home run hitter in baseball, except it's a guy that's hitting about 140 and only has 14 home runs and 198 strikeouts. I mean, that's not good enough. So take what the defense is giving you, because that's the main reason why to me the deep ball doesn't work, is that teams are absolutely trying to take it away. So how do you? I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, to me, watching the Chiefs week in and week out, I feel like that teams have just been daring the Chiefs to take what they're being given. Teams know that Patrick wants to throw the ball deep. They know that he wants to extemporize. They know that he doesn't have the horses that he's had in the past. So what do? They try to keep him in the pocket and wait until the Chiefs make a mistake because they're young and they don't have the chemistry and the institutional knowledge that they've once had. So if you can keep Mahomes in the pocket and wait until the Chiefs make a mistake, that's what defenses are playing right now. And that's what they're hoping for. And you take away the deep end, which is what most of these defenses are doing. They're daring Patrick to do what he doesn't want to do. It's against his instincts because he's not a game manager. But right now, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I think, could go out there and just game manage the Chiefs to a Super Bowl. But it's just you got to have the game plan to do it, and you got to have the commitment to do it. And I understand. I mean, that's one of the great things about having a gunslinger is that mentality, to push it and to try and get everything that you can. But right now, it's not available. You don't have the horses for it. So take what you're being given. I think we saw a little bit of that against the Patriots. Let's see more of it. I mean, I think that the Chiefs did a really good job of that last year. Now I think it's even more important that that they just take advantage of what's available, short and intermediate. See what Richie James has got. I mean, that's what I want to see going into the postseason to see how it's going to work out. We'll probably stick around here another 10 minutes or so and everything. So if anybody else has got more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Ed, what are Brett Veach's priorities this offseason's? Besides, so if you got anything else there, Ed, feel free to weigh in. But I'll tell you, I mean, one priority is going to be extending some of their young guys. Starting in January, you can have extensions with the players who were taken in 21. So Nick Bolton, Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey. Those are the top three priorities. I mean, they would like to get those three guys signed up because they're the core of the team going forward. If they can get, team friendly deals with those guys done, help them avoid free agency, get a couple of more years beyond their rookie deals. I mean, I think they'd love to get those guys up long term. I mean, if you could get a 5-year deal done with each of those guys, I think that Brett Veach would love to. I mean, that would be his ideal. Even if you're able to get, a 2-year extension beyond their rookie deals done, I think they would take that. I mean, 3 would be maybe the compromise, but I think you take what you can get at this point. But because the advantage obviously you're hoping for is that if you sign a guy after year 3, then maybe you can get a little bit of a discount because you're paying them early. Some guys are going to want to, bet on the market and hope that they can get more money. I don't think that this is going to be a situation, though, where the Chiefs are trying to get anybody on the cheap. I mean, I think there's going to be a serious effort to get those 3 core pieces signed after the season, and even before. I mean, like I said, you can start signing those guys in January. So that's priority number 1 for Veach, is to lock up the young guys, and it's the 21 class that they're going to be focusing on. That's what you can lock up right now. I mean, after that, yeah, I mean, receiver is going to be a focus for Brett Veach in the offseason. There's no doubt about it. I think they're going to probably look at every way that you can get somebody who catches the ball. I mean, tight end should be a priority as well. To me, you are just, and this season has underscored it with the injuries that Travis Kelce has suffered, and the hyperextension in week 1. I mean, I think if for anything should have been the wake-up call. You need more than Noah Gray as your backup tight end. I mean, maybe Noah can step in and be a great tight end. He's a different tight end than Travis. He doesn't have the height, doesn't have the athleticism. He's a different player. I really like Noah. There's no doubt he's got a great place on this team. He's also somebody that you may want to try and lock up. But you don't have the obvious replacement to Travis Kelce in the pipeline. And as important as the tight end position is for the Chiefs and for Andy Reid's offense, I mean, I think it's just been kind of crossing your fingers nothing happens to him. So anybody who can catch a football is who I would be looking at, and that's talking about draft and in free agency. After that, I mean, you got a few different needs. I mean, you obviously, there's a few other guys that I think you're going to be talking about extensions for and keeping around. There's how many of your own free agents can you keep? L'Jarius Sneed and Chris Jones are going to be in that next category. You can't punt on them too much, but let's face it. I mean, if you're Brett Veach, and who's going to get the money, your number one choice is going to be the young guys. So you're going to pay if it takes getting Nick Bolton and Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey done takes all the money, then you're going to have to live with that. But the idea is that you bet on the young guys that you think are going to give you the most years. L'Jarius is a really tough one because he's probably going to get paid this offseason, and he's going to test free agency. I don't think he's going to take the first offer the Chiefs give him. So he's going to find out what's out there on the open market, assuming the Chiefs don't franchise tag him, and that's where they're going to have the pick your poison with Chris Jones. You can't franchise tag them both, so they've got a little bit of a mystery to solve there. But you can franchise tag one of them, the other one's going to test free agency, and you're probably going to lose the one that you don't. So that's the consideration. So that's probably longer than it should have been answered, but because we got plenty of time to talk about that, Ed. But that's at least my first thoughts. Cannot get out of here without always getting a Zach Ertz question. Sure, I can see him. First of all, as long as Zach doesn't want to get paid, because the Chiefs have no money. But then again, I mean, for a prorated version of the contract, I mean, you wouldn't have to do too much. And I'm still not 100% convinced that there's a lot left in the Zach Ertz tank, but it wouldn't cost you much theoretically. And I kind of wonder what Zach is in the back thinking about. I mean, I don't know if he's just really just sitting back waiting to see which team he thinks has the best chance of the Super Bowl and can't decide, because I think that probably his and certainly the impression I get is that his true first choices are the Chiefs and the Eagles, and right now neither one of them looks like Super Bowl guarantees, so maybe that's why he's on the sidelines a little bit. But I don't know what his priority is. I don't know what he wants. So Sandman, Tony's having a rough go right now, but he has had a 10 for 189 game in the NFL, which is more than any current Chief. I'm assuming that's true because Marquez may have had a big game. I don't remember one. Rashee Rice is going to have one of those games, so there's no doubt. Absolutely. I mean, and Andy Reid said as much this week. I mean, he's a great kid, tremendous talent. There's no doubt about it. Just can't drop a ball like that. And when you have a couple of mistakes, and really, you're talking about a lot of mistakes over the course of the season for Tony, and I can't really, I mean, some of it certainly was not of his making. I mean, I think that, being out for training camp was a big part of it. I think he started the season rusty, and it's been difficult to get, maybe his legs under him the entire year. But, there's a concentration issue too. I mean, you get the penalty that he had. I mean, it was a little bit of a concentration issue. Certainly the drops have been a concentration issue. And, the only thing that worries me about Tony is that you're seeing some of the same things that, were a problem for him in New York. And you hate to think that you would like to think that this is a better atmosphere in Kansas City than New York, and this would be a better place for him. And we'll see how the Chiefs handle him this week. But I do wonder, because Andy's tone towards Tony seemed different this week than it has been in the past. Lee, I've noticed over the last two seasons that Creed snaps the ball lower in either key moments or late in the game. Almost was an issue this week. Something worth noticing. I haven't noticed that necessarily, but it could be something. Yeah, I mean, Creed's a great center. I mean, especially as a blocker and everything. But his snaps are not the most consistent in the world. He's pretty good, so I don't want you to think it's like I'm bashing him or anything like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Creed Humphrey is the hands down best center in the league. Every snap, every center's got a few rough snaps in them, but of all the traits in Creed's game, snapping is probably one of his consistency issues, but I'll take it over everything else that he does because he's just fantastic, and he'll probably get better with age. Angie, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in, stopping by. Very kind of you. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Let's see what else we got. We'll go a couple of more minutes here. I was going to say I was going to probably stick around until after we had fewer than 100 people watching, because that's been kind of we've had more people watching tonight than any other one. So I didn't want to leave when we're on a high. So I was going to stick around as long as you all were sticking around. So I really appreciate it. Let's see. Question mark. There we go. From Rick. Where's Backpedal Robinson? Hey, I probably, probably was too hard on D-Rob. I look back, I wasn't sure he was going to do much since after he left Kansas City, but you know what? I mean, I was looking at his numbers the other day. They're really not that bad. I mean, let me pull it up and see here. And then I'll probably, be thinking to myself, oh, maybe they're not as good as I thought that they were. But he had 458 yards for Baltimore last year. I mean, that's his most in Kansas City was 466. He had 458 in a brand new offense. I mean, to me, that's good. I mean, and DeMarcus would be good in this offense. The Rams this year numbers are down a little bit, 14 for 197, 3 touchdowns. But I mean, I kind of look back now in the DeMarcus Robinson era, and I'm like, gosh, Chiefs could really use him. Red Royce, Jones, and Snead, only one get a deal. Who is it? I'm just going to assume that one of them gets a deal for sure. It'd probably I would choose Snead if no other reason than for the age. There's once again pluses and minuses. I know that the one thing that's probably going to ding L'Jarius a little bit in free agency is going to be concerns about his knee. There will probably be a lot of teams that want to see his medicals and have him in for a visit to get a look at the knee and just see how it is, because he's been on the injury report. Remember, he didn't really have any training camp for the most part. He really didn't get back until the very end of training camp, getting ready for the season. And he's been on the injury report literally the entire year with the knee. So that's the question people are going to have. There's going to be questions about his durability given how physical he plays. I think that's a pretty specious argument. I mean, I would sign L'Jarius because of the way he plays, because of how physical he plays. But I know that some teams are going to have some questions. But after what he's done this year as a shutdown corner, name a better corner in the league right now than L'Jarius Snead. And you can throw some guys at me with a bunch of interceptions, and you can bring your Sauce Gardner and everything like that. I'll take Snead. I think he's playing better than anybody in the league right now. For no other reason than he's a complete guy. I mean, he can play any position in the secondary. I think he can play safety if you needed him to. He's obviously a shutdown corner. He can play the run. That's the guy I would pay. I mean, as much as I love Chris Jones, and he is clear, without a doubt, one of the 2 best players in the league at his position. And when you think about him as a hybrid defensive lineman instead of just a defensive tackle, maybe the best hybrid defensive lineman in the league. But he's in his 30s. I'll take Snead. So, Dockster is in. How often are you playing on the live Q&As? We've kind of settled into doing the live Q&A every Tuesday. So, I'm going to plan on doing that for the foreseeable future. I'm trying to find out, I've been toying around with some other days and other nights and afternoons and seeing what works for everybody and what kind of works best. So, you might see me pop up here and there. There's going to be anytime there's breaking news or anything of that nature, I'm definitely going to be doing some things. So, there might be some pop-ups every once in a while, but every Tuesday for sure, I'll be here. And like I said, we might do some other ones throughout the week. I would love to do a second one, on a regular schedule, just trying to find the best time for it. So if anybody's got any druthers, requests, suggestions, let me know. I'm all for it. Kenneth, just for thoughts, Justin Houston was released and wants to sign with a contender. I would say thanks, but no thanks. I don't know. I mean, if I'm Brett Veach and Andy Reid, I think I'd want to have Justin come in and talk to him and see where he is and everything. Because I'm not sure, and don't take it the wrong way. I don't want this to, to seem out of parse this statement too much, but not sure I would take the Justin Houston mindset that he had when he left Kansas City in that locker room right now. I'm not sure that it would really fit in chemistry wise. So I would want Justin to come in and talk to him and see where he's at and how he's feeling, because like I said, I think I just need to know and see where he's at. So I would probably pass, but if he wants to come in for a visit and talk with him, sure, let's do it. Let's see what's going on and what's going through his head. But let's I I think that era has moved on, and I would go because right now you don't have any problems on the defensive line. I mean, you're getting pass rush, you're getting everything done. I wouldn't mess with it. Where's that play calling like that from the first drive in Germany against Miami? I mean, here's another theory that I'll throw out there, and I'm not saying I buy it, but it's a case that I could make, which is that you're talking about a team that has played so many games over, since 2018, and a lot of games that have meant something, that it is impossible to be up for as many games as the Chiefs have. The Chiefs have been up, though, for the big ones. They were up for the Eagles. Even though they didn't pull that one out, they were up for it. They were up for the Bills. Bills were up too. I mean, that was the problem. I mean, the Eagles and Bills, those two games, both those teams were up for it. But the Chiefs were up for those games. They were up for Miami, and they handled Miami. So I don't know if it's much about the play calling as really it is about the execution and and the emotion and the reality of it is I think you have to accept is that when you are the hunted, when you're the defending Super Bowl champions, that everybody is circling, and for you everybody is their Super Bowl. Most of the time you are going to be on the losing side of energy. Now, I think the advantage is that the Chiefs have been so good offensively in the last few years that it doesn't matter, that they were able to win some games, that they were not the most motivated team on the field that day. Now, this year, I think they have offensively, obviously, they've come back to the pack a little bit. The defense is better. But once again, I mean, we talked about it. You can make the case this team is literally 3 plays away from being 12-2 right now. I mean, conceivably, they're closer to being 13-1 than some other records. So, I mean, you could certainly change 4 plays this season, and this team would be 13-1. I mean, that's how close and thin the line is. I mean, they're not a bad team. But it's just, is this going to be a team that sleepwalks a little bit maybe through the regular season and turns it on January 1 and then they're going to make a run? I'm not going to rule it out. I think the only thing that surprised me is that I think that this team has been a little bit like that in the last couple of years. It's been a little bit of in 21 and 22, a little bit of, coast until December and then turn it on. The only problem is that this December came and they didn't turn it on yet. So that's the only worry that I really have from that standpoint. Mac, appreciate you joining the live cast. Do you think Noah Gray could develop into a replacement for Travis? I mean, and I'll admit to a bias here, which is that, my concern about Noah has always been that he is not the prototypical size for a tight end. Travis is listed at 6'5", 250. I think there was a question in the stream about what his size is. I've always wondered about the 6'5" because I know he measured that at the combine, so I have no doubt he is actually 6'5". I'm 6'4", I'm shrinking probably a little bit, but Travis just, and I was talking to somebody earlier this week about it. Travis just seems more than an inch taller than me. So I always feel like Travis is a lot bigger than I am, even though I apparently outweigh him by like 50 pounds and I am only 1 inch shorter, but he seems like he's just much muscular, bigger and everything that I am. So, but Noah is, 6'3", and you don't think that those 2 inches make a difference, but you start looking at tight ends around the league and, and the other part of it too, and this is no knock against Noah, it's just that Travis can probably get away with being 6'5" because he is absolutely one of the most athletic and physical tight ends around. I mean, there's just, and then you add in the knowledge that he's gotten, the tight end IQ is off the charts. So Noah doesn't have some of those advantages, but you look at the size of Noah, and that's what I think is the tough thing is that, really, Evan Ingram is probably your ideal hopeful comp for Noah Gray. And I mean, if he could beat Evan Ingram, I mean, you would take that, but Evan Ingram is not Travis Kelce. So, if you're talking about, having a 1,000-yard tight end, a 1,200-yard tight end. And I know I'm asking for a lot because what I'm asking for is basically a Hall of Fame tight end to replace Travis Kelce. But I think that, you can get that kind of production from the right guy. And so, I mean, Travis's ultimate replacement, in my mind, is just somebody bigger and more athletic than Noah is. And that's no knock against Noah. I think he's a really nice player. You've seen it when they've got things designed for him that he executes them. And I'm fully willing to admit that my height bias with Noah could be absolutely wrong. It's just, that was just, and like I said, it was always been my concern from day one that, Noah Gray is just a little bit undersized to be the next superstar tight end. So I'd look for something different, but I do really like Noah as a player, and he's a good guy too. So no, I mean, I would love for him to be the replacement for Travis. I just don't know from a intellectual standpoint, just if it's my brain can get my arms around that, or just my gut that's against it. I don't know. Appreciate your red, Royce. I think everybody's kind of checking out here and saying their goodbyes. So there's one. Would an AFC Championship game in Baltimore really be all that bad? No, I mean, Chiefs can win anywhere. Am I the only one that just thinks that if the Ravens end up as the 1 seed, there is just no way that the AFC Championship game is going to be held in Baltimore? I mean, I can't be sold that the Ravens are going to actually make it all the way. They just seem to find a way at this time of year. Lamar's 31-11 at home in his career. I guess that would not surprise me. So I do doubt the Ravens' ability to win in the playoffs. And so, like I said, I think if the Chiefs get the 2 seed, they will. I almost think that they're going to host the AFC Championship game again. I can't guarantee that they're going to win it because I don't know who they'll be playing. But and this is the team that I have the less confidence in of any of the last few teams that they can win 3 games in a row in the playoffs. But this team, once again, I think this team has the longest range of outcomes of anybody. I would have been stunned the last few years if the Chiefs lost in the first round of the playoffs. Wouldn't surprise me this year. It also wouldn't surprise me if they were playing in Vegas in February. It's just, that's how this team is. Okay. I'll let Kenneth get the last word there. Ravens and Dolphins could both lose 2 more games. If the Chiefs win out, Chiefs get the number 1 seed. You only need Dolphins to lose 1 because the Chiefs own the tiebreaker over them. So, and that's the thing. I mean, it's who do you root for when the Dolphins play the Ravens? I mean, you would say that. I think you want because the Dolphins also play the Cowboys, and I can't remember if they play I say that, and I always get it confused because one of them plays the 49ers and one plays the Cowboys, and my I think holiday-addled mind, I always get confused about which one is which. But, I mean, they both have really, really tough schedules. So, I don't know. Obviously, I think you want the one that's going to benefit you the most. Right now, I would say I think you want the Dolphins just to get a loss so that that if you win out, you can be the 2 seed. But if the Dolphins win that, they've got another game that they could drop, and then now you just need the Dolphins to lose, the Ravens to lose 2. Now, the crazy thing is that I think mathematically, hey, if the Ravens were to lose this weekend, the Chiefs are going to be the favorite to have the number 1 seed in the AFC. It's going to be close, but I think that, looking at the numbers over the weekend, I think it was going to be like, everybody was going to be in that kind of, the Ravens were going to be about 30%. The Chiefs were being about 30%, 30-odd percent. They were probably both you have to be like in the mid 70s, and the Dolphins would still have a chance too, but we'll see what happens. I think you all have worn out my voice. I'll try and be a game day player though, and be ready for the next time we all get together to do this. Thanks everybody once again for making it such a fun night. Wish I had anything more to add, but I think you have tapped me out. I might surprise you again later on in the week with a stream, and for those members, whether you have signed up for your own memberships or you've gotten the ones that Cliff and Jack have gifted. I am definitely going to be doing some members only content for you this week, and exclusive content. So be watching for that. And if there's anything else you guys want, let me know in the comments and on the YouTube channel. Give me any insights. Be glad to try and do whatever content that you folks are all looking for. So let me know. And hey, Snake VP, thank you. I appreciate it. If you've been watching me since PM showed up, I'll let you know one of my most embarrassing moments, because it was my second year on the beat. It was my first draft when the Chiefs selected Patrick Mahomes, and I was so excited about trying to, get things out there first. And as soon as I heard them and everything, so I think I put out there, I know I put it out there, but I typed it without my brain really thinking and said on Twitter that the Chiefs selected Patrick Mahomes from Texas A&M. So if you've been with me that long, you will know that, sometimes I type faster than I think. But I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Like I said, we'll see if we can't see you all later again sometime this week. Otherwise, next Tuesday, we'll be back here again. Holiday or not, it'll be the day after Christmas. So I will be here. Ho, ho, ho. And we'll all have a good time. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a great week. And I will see you all later.